Remember when we used to talk about the paperless office,
e-commerce,
signing a contract on paper,
and even giving out an agent's pager number?
We're in a mobile world.
We're in a mobile world, and your business needs to be too.
It's a digital world.
Workflow is changing, and so too are our experiences.
There are over 350 PropTech players right now
competing for the space.
How do you keep up with it all? And what's next?
Welcome to Founders,
a new podcast with Josh Phegan
on the future of workflow in real estate.
Welcome to the Founders Podcast. And today we've got an incredible conversation about data, about what it is that we do to become amazing in the way that we go to work with consumers, how we go to find people that we haven't been able to find, what we actually go to do to build data, how we go to work data, and also too how we go to get into new relationships that we've never been in before. This is going to be a fascinating conversation about what's actually happening in the modern world, how we really stay really good in the influence areas, but also to learn how to get better on the phone. So we've got Rahul Grover coming to us from iD4me, and we're going to talk about everything and what it takes to be amazing. So let's have a bit of a conversation about this. iD4me, what is it? How did it start? And how is it used as a tool by real estate agents?
Josh, thank you for having me. iD4me is, I think, the biggest data source for the real estate industry right now. Agents use us to find owners' information. The BDMs use us to get rent rolls. It's email, mobile, and a lot more than that. You profile people within minutes. You understand your patch, and you work that patch, and you build relationships.
You know, the amazing thing about it is that literally when you get into this tool, you go in and you go, okay, great. How could I search? And there's lots of different ways that you can search.
Yeah.
You can search based on a name. You can search based on a number. You can search based on an email address, a street address. You can search based on a geographical region. You can drill down into the data and find people that are maybe over the age of 55 that might be eligible to maybe sell their house and put all their money into superannuation and pay no tax on the way in. So talk to me a little bit about like the importance of search, because you've got all this amazing data, but how do you go to search to find the right data for what the types of calls are that you're doing?
Yes, I think the filters are very important. We've added more filters since I've last spoken with you. You can now drill down and keep the filters on state, postcodes, or even age brackets, and then really understand your patch. You've listed a house, number 10 William Street. Let's look at, obviously 10 houses each side and inform them that you just listed the house and you would love a VIP inspection night, and then for them to attend and build relationships. I think in a nutshell, what we've really done here is we've democratized data. Let's go back 4 years when iD4me didn't exist. If you know people, if you know an area, you dominate that space, and it's really hard for an agent to break into that space. We've changed that. You have a subscription and all of a sudden you can call the same person. So, if the relationships aren't maintained, and we'll talk about that later on as well, you can get into that space and disrupt it.
I'm a massive one for thinking about influence. And the reason why I say influence is that, we've all had that where we go to build our businesses and someone joins our team one day and we go, hey, can we get you to jump on the phone? I need you to ring Danny and have a quick conversation with him. And I need you to just ask him about XYZ. And then 2 or 3 days later, you go, how'd you go ringing Danny? And they go, I emailed him. No, ring Danny about that, because I've got to ask the question. So what we do is that we have this metrics of influence, and it starts off that literally if you want to be at your most influential, face-to-face really works. The second conversation after that, maybe it's like a Zoom or a FaceTime. I've got to be modern. The next one after that, then it's definitely a phone call. After that, literally I do a lot of work in Dubai. I've seen the power of voice notes. Really big thing inside of that marketplace. Beyond voice notes, then maybe we go to SMS, and then after that we then go to email. And what I'm thinking about is in terms of your ability to influence, I'll use email or an SMS mainly as a reminder tool or as a prompting tool. But I'm actually in a position that I'm really starting to think that if I want to be at my best, I've got to stay at the top of influence. And if you think about agents that go from 0 to hero, or shift from 10, 20 to 30, 40 or 50 or 60 or 100 plus transactions a year, what they're really good at is that they're really good at actually understanding that they want to be at their most influential. Now, we've got some challenges happening in this space. We're hearing people say, hey, I've got these AI agents that are going to jump on the phone and make all of those calls. But when you listen to the calls, it's not how you and I talk. And it's not literally yet smart enough about to understand human emotions and situations and learning how to actually put in the energy and the effort. And this is the interesting thing, that what I'm saying to people, there's got to be a run for this, because if someone's got your name and number in their phone, they're going to have conversations with you.
Yeah.
If you're not in their phone, they might not have conversations with you, and then you got to be killer at your voice notes and the SMSs and the additional things that you might use in follow-up to go to do that. So personal one-to-one relationships absolutely matter. Now, what you've been able to do is you've been able to help agents to move from just data to then moving that into relationship. And it's really understanding that where you fit inside of the workflow is about triggers. Now, we operate in a world where people want to do a ton of marketing, right, to get people to ring them. And that's really, really powerful, like 10 times more powerful if someone comes to you, unless you're going to someone very specifically about something important that happens. So what I want you to think about is that the trigger points for me, when there's a listing or when there's a sale, I need to get on the phone and go and have that conversation.
Yeah.
And how I do that is going to really matter. So when you see a number that you don't know ring you and you decide to press accept and answer that call, what do you think of straight away?
I think you want to know who you're speaking to.
Who's calling?
Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. What
because
else?
when there's a lag, either it's AI
Yes.
or a call center and you hang up.
So you want to know who's calling?
Yeah.
Why are they calling?
Yep.
Yeah, and what does it have to do with me?
Correct.
So if I got on the phone and I rang you and I said, hi, it's Josh Phegan calling. I'm one of the local real estate agents. We haven't had the chance to meet us yet.
Yeah.
The reason for my call is I believe that you're the owner of number 10 Smith Street. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because we've actually just listed number 12 and I thought you'd love to know.
Yeah.
You might want to buy it for yourself. You might be interested to see how much it sells for. If there's a couple of buyers that come through and it's left over, you might be interested in having them come through your place. Would it be okay if I let you know when it sells and what it makes?
Yeah.
And then I'm now going to get, would it be okay? I'll send you a quick SMS when that sales result happens. Now I've got your first name, surname, email address, mobile number. I've got that now sitting inside on the CRM side. I've now got the chance to be able to go and ring you again when it sells. Hey, Jones Street just sold, made 2 mil, 2 buyers left over. What would it take to get them through yours? Now, if you do that seriously good, they're not going to ask, where'd you get my number?
Yeah.
And this is the interesting conversation, and I'm not saying not tell them, but the interesting foundational piece is that it's all in the delivery. Did you like that? Look, we haven't had the chance to meet us yet. Because it puts your mind instantly at ease to go, oh, yeah, okay, great, but why? And then if someone does ask, how do you go to handle that? Hey, look, we actually subscribe to a consumer database of people that have given third-party consent to receive a call. If you wanted to get to be removed from that list, it's really easy. I can get your contact details on how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to be distracted nowadays with all these tools that claim that there is an ROI. I would love to see what the ROI is, but it's very simple. You have to be honest for the reason of the call. You are introducing yourself. You do work in the community, and you want to build a relationship because you don't know if they want to sell you their house right now, but they might want to sell it in a year, and you want them to call you instead of going to market, and that's what you're really trying to achieve. So, and we just help you get there quicker. We cut out the noise. You can pick up the phone and you can have a conversation. And in this world where an AI can call 1,000 people a minute, I think picking up the phone and being honest and speaking to someone and knowing a little bit about them before you pick up the phone, I think makes a huge difference.
So when you start to think a little bit about this, it's also about timing. So I see a lot of agents who just do a just sold call and they don't do the just listed. And to me, that's really braggy. So because, oh, hey, I sold this one for $2 million. Do you want to sell? But what it hasn't done is it hasn't let you have the chance to talk to your partner, talk to your wife, have a conversation about the move, see if the job relocation's coming through. Oh, geez, if it did get a good price, would we sell ours? Is now the time to move to the country? Whatever the story is. And that's actually the secret of what great marketing is really understanding how do you speed up consumer decisions.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big one of saying, okay, here is a trigger. If you said to me, hey, Josh, I want to grow my business this year and want to increase my average sale price, prospecting streets that have more expensive houses.
Yeah.
I don't know, that sounds really basic, but you know how so many people are like, oh, yeah, I could never do that. No one would ever see me as a top-end agent. No, it's not really my thing. We'll get one and do it really well and do great video, do great marketing, and you'll position yourself and call more of the neighbours about the listing and call everyone about the sale and learn to build the relationships. And that's how in 1, 2 or 3 years' time, you'll become the go-to person who sells high-end.
And I think this is why the churn in the industry is very high. I think 20-25% of agents churn out of industry every year, which is very high. And, if you look at the data, not a lot of agents make a lot of money because it is very labor intensive.
Yes.
And how do you do less with more outcomes?
Yes.
I think listening to obviously your podcast
Quality of work, right?
Correct, yeah. And using the right data to do the right thing, which is building relationships.
Yeah.
That is really what it comes down to.
And this is that whole conversation where you go, hang on a second, you're driving down a street, you see a house that's overgrown. And you just think, well, how do I get in contact with that owner? Now, in the old days, we might maybe door knock the house either side. We might put a letter in the letterbox. We might wait for a bit. Well, now we can just ring most likely the house either side, and we can ring the last occupant of that house.
Yep.
And it might have turned out that maybe that was the tenant, and the tenant might actually know who the owner was, and then you ring that number and you get the sister, and unfortunately the owner's actually in hospital or whatever. And then you go hunting for really specific properties. And this is actually getting you to start to think, well, hang on a second, I've got to start getting really clear about my trigger, that every single time that there's a listing, how do I ring around that house if I really want to get into that street?
Yeah.
And then every single time there's a sale, how do I ring all those people when it's sold?
Yeah.
So it means that literally you're going to work two sets of data. You've got the existing relationships that you already have, past clients, landlords, market appraisals that you've done. But in every street, you've got plenty of people that you've not yet met.
Yeah.
And particularly if it's a key street or a key area that you really want to get a high level of market penetration, you can now go after that. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is they say, okay, great, when new government initiatives come in, and there was one, for example, a few years back about anyone who's over the age of 55, who's owned a principal place of residence for more than 10 years, that has not yet used the scheme, can actually sell their principal place of residence to downsize, and they can put up to $300,000 as an individual or $600,000 as a couple into their superannuation and pay no tax on the way in.
Right.
It's okay, great. So that's a data set, isn't it? Find me all people in area over 55.
Yeah.
You're not going to say that, hey, are you over 55? But you get the idea that the marketing is going to be really targeted to that. Now, we've seen a lot of zoning changes that have happened in lots of different councils areas around Australia. And if you now live in a certain radius of, let's say, for example, a train station, they're changing the floor to space ratio and what you can build for redevelopment on that particular asset.
Yeah.
So as that comes on, you could actually then put a rope around and say, hang on a second, in this location, these properties are most likely to be impacted by that zoning.
Yeah.
Should I get on the phone and ring the owner and say, hey, look, I thought I'd give you a quick call. You may or may not be aware you're going to be impacted on the saleable value of your asset, given the potential zoning changes. Have you thought about us popping out, giving you an idea on what it's worth now, giving you an idea on its projected value in the future, so then you can make some decisions for the future. So what you're actually realizing is that, Google searches can take you anywhere. So too can iD4me, where you're actually looking at really specific groups of people to go after for better quality conversations, for better quality conversion, right?
Yeah, it's about owning your patch and knowing your area. How do you serve the community? It goes back to that. So if you know that something's about to change, then use the information, tell the market something very useful instead of just another email. And there's a follow on that, which is, hey, can we have a chat and see what you think about it? And do you maybe want to sell?
Yeah. The interesting conversation, how many Australians' mobile numbers are now in the iD4me system?
I think we just crossed 12 million mobile numbers in the system. The focus now is to obviously continue on growing that, but also really starting to personalize the system itself for the agent. Mm-hmm. If you're good at selling in Brighton, if that's your core patch, now let's show you properties that you're good at selling in your core areas. Mm-hmm. And as you can still do your searches. Think of it as Spotify. We start to personalize it a little bit because we know what you're good at and what you like.
So when you come to that, people do ask the question, how do you get the data and how do you get permission, third party, to be able to provide that information for someone to get access to?
Yeah. So we buy data from multiple sources. Some are public, some are private, some are government sources. And what it really comes down to is our engineering team creating what we like to call a single customer view. Mm-hmm. We go back 20 years on and show you a real view on what the person, where they lived with their mum and dad when they were 20 years old and where they are now when they're 40. So we go back a fair bit and multiple sources comes together and we DNCR the data, do not call registry, ACMA.
What's ACMA?
ACMA is a government body, so if your personal number, you can go and put your number on the website for free, and that means no one's allowed to telemarket to you unless you have given them prior consent to do so. So to all agents, please do not call people who number are on the do not call registry. The legally the onus is on the agent, but we do the right thing. We do the monthly wash on the agent or in its agent's behalf. You just have to go on iD4me and just go over the number, and if it's a red, do not call it, because the fines are huge. And I think more than the fines, it's the fact that
Be respectful.
Yeah, and also it's not good for your brand. People do not like that. So, yeah.
But it's the basic idea here is that literally that data is being washed to make sure it's up to date. You're getting various sources to actually make sure it's as accurate as possible.
Yep.
And then ultimately then you've got a chance. And like I was thinking about it the other day, I've had 2 mobile numbers in my entire life.
Right.
Yeah, but I've had my most recent one for like 22 years. Yeah, so like literally it's my dad made me give him my mobile number when I left the real estate office. He really wanted it for all those vendor leads, right?
Yeah.
But the basic idea is that I've had the same number for such a long period of time, and it's out there in marketplace. And so now it's about learning how to go to communicate and go to connect with it. So when you think about it, how easy is search? Like if you could use a Google search bar, are you going to be able to use iD4me? And literally, what are some of the filters or the advanced searches that you can do, and some of the creative ways that you've seen agencies using it? Because I know that one example that you're already showcasing was finding landlords on investment properties.
Yeah.
And a really good example of that, I know of an agency that literally every single time a property comes up available for lease, they go and have a look at that property. They go in reverse and find out who the owner of that property is. Once they've got that owner, they then go and get the contact details on iD4me, and then they then have built a database of all of the owners who own in that particular building. I thought that was quite a creative way to then, ring effectively 9 or 10 months down the track and say, hey, your property must be coming up for releasing soon. Where are you at with that? What would it take for us to have the opportunity to represent you?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's super smart, super easy, but they're playing the long game there to turn that data into relationships.
Yeah. To answer your question, I think like you said, to search an iD4me is as simple as doing a Google search. It's like a Google search bar. You put the name or an email or whatever data point you have, or a combination of different things. If you only have the last name and you know the suburb, you put that in and you'll find the person. That's, or sometimes you just put the address in and you'll find everyone linked with the address come up, and you can easily see this is the family, that's the granddad, that's the dad, and that's the guy who owns the property now. So it's you can find the entire family tree if you wanted to. We have court data, we have social media information, we have the spouse information. So while you're doing the search, without even realizing, you start to profile the individual, because you have date of birth as well. And when you pick up the phone, you're not just calling Sam at 15 William Street. You're calling Sam, who is 45, runs his own business, married to Alex, and have kids. That's a lot more, and the conversation will be very different.
Founders is brought to you by Josh Phegan Digital. When we were setting out to go and create Josh Phegan Digital, we just had this whole idea that we wanted training to be on demand. And everything in our life is on demand. We just press play inside of the Netflix app. We press play on YouTube, play on Spotify. Why couldn't we just press play on training? And what we decided is we want to be super relevant to real estate agents, so that in under a couple of minutes each day, if you wanted to, you could upskill and you could grow in new ways. And so we decided that we were going to release this thing that we called The Edit, which is basically the latest in property news stories that's happening every week right the way around the country. So you could be incredibly sharp in your conversations with sellers. And then we built out the short courses, which was all about rapidly building skills, whether or not it's about learning how to get better fees or to put on an assistant. And then we actually wanted to give you access to blueprints, so you didn't have to wait for it every year. You could just watch it whenever you wanted and actually go from zero to hero around everything that it takes, from goal setting, self and energy management, what you're doing around prospecting, listing, negotiation, and actually just have a system for the way that you work. Together with, getting really inspired by some of the best people in the industry with the black and white interviews. Josh Phegan Digital is available on iOS and also on Android. It's an incredible app, and it gives you everything that you'll need to be a much better agent. It's time to switch on.
And so that whole conversation is about learning how to take the existing contacts you've already got and find out more about them as well.
Yeah.
And I have seen people that are doing the reverse engineering, that they might have someone come through and open for inspection, and then they're then doing that search to then say, okay, well, look, now that we've got that, where do they actually live? And so they're actually taking the mobile number and doing the reverse search to actually find out a residential address. And so this is like interesting to start to think about, like it's data enrichment really, isn't it? And starting to think about that. So you guys have done some really big improvements. Most recently, there's been an upgrade to the mobile version and being able to improve the quality of that. Tell us a bit about, the UI improvements and how that's made it easier for an agent when they're on the road to find a number.
Yeah, look, it's work in progress. We have made huge changes, but we are about to invest quite a bit in the data and the check FY26, basically, starting now. It's going to look very different than what it does on the mobile. More importantly, I think, it's a tool that agents use to get details and then get cracking in the CRM and the workflows. And it's going to go from a tool to a solution where you can create workflows within the system. You can add alerts. You can monitor properties. You can move the data around from one platform to a different platform as well. So an agent can do a lot more within iD4me, and the data then starts to work for you. We can see what you're good at selling. We can see what you have listing right now, and according to that, we'll tell you which properties to maybe call. Because this whole conversation around propensity modeling, we've been watching that, and everyone's talking about when is this house going to come to market. We can tell you that 4 months in advance. And I think you miss a big part of that. Now, I know you got your views on this as well, but you miss a big part where it's not just about the house that's coming to market, it's about who's going to actually call that house. Because if you're good at selling apartments in the city, we can tell you a house might come to market worth $5 million in the suburbs. There's no point you calling the house because that's not what you're good at doing. It's a combination of the two. Yeah, that's a combination of the two things. That is real propensity modeling. That is connecting the right house to the right agent. That is market moving efficiently forward. That's what we're going to introduce.
It's pretty exciting when you start to see that, because like the whole idea here is about learning really differently how to go to work with people in more powerful ways. And it's amazing. I've got agents that have got a huge database and refuse to call it, but yet I give them some cold data and they'll ring it every day of the week. And it's like it amazes me. And I'm like, hey, do a bit of both. Yeah. So like, and this is actually about like when we get strategic, and I think about the 3 levers to growing any business. It's either average sale price, the volume of transactions, or increasing your fee. Now, one of the easiest ways to get a better fee is to have a better relationship. So improve the valuable contribution. So every single time, if there's a listing or a sale of significance in the building, I should call you. The next conversation is the thing, okay, great. If I want to improve volume, then one of the ways to do that is to reduce days on market. Another way to improve volume is to make sure that you move up and down the price ranges. So as an example, if I had a 3-bedroom unit in a block, wouldn't I ring the people that own the 2-bedroom units and see if they want to upgrade and get a 3-bedder? Yeah. Turns out they like the block, they just need an extra bedroom because they've had a baby. Okay, great. So let's go and do that. And then if I'm in a position that I'm about to sell a 3-bedder, wouldn't I ring the people that also own a 3-bedder in the building and say, hey, by the way, guys, would you like to be in a position that you could buy another one? Or ultimately, would you sell yours if I had a buyer who's left over? And then you start going, hang on a second, there's a lot of opportunities here, isn't there, that we should be ringing appraisals of a similar type. We should be ringing appraisals of the price range before. And then you should be starting to think about like really understanding the movement and the flow. Now when I'm talking about a unit block, you get it. But when I go to houses, you're like, oh yeah, when I get a 4-bedroom house, I should ring 3-bedroom owners in the area and say, hey, there's no chance you wanted to upgrade, is there? Because 21 James is coming up and it's an extra bedroom than what you've got. And I thought it would be the perfect house for you. Did you want to come down to that open for inspection and have a quick look at it? Now, what you're doing here is that you're starting to think about the different layers of the people that are going to be doing that workflow. So we've got the senior lead agent, and they might be doing a lot of things around maybe, for example, their past clients and working through a lot of their previous appraisals because they're quite, proud of those and also too quite precious. Then the next conversation is that literally who in your team is actually helping to go to work colder data and to build a relationship with them to actually move into the warm data sets. Yeah. And that might be that the establishing agent, the co-agent, the junior agent, the developing agent is actually then on the phones and doing some of those calls. And it's really important. You guys have been to some of our prospecting schools and you're seeing the importance of improving the dialogue of how you enter that call, what the purpose of that call is, what you want someone to know, what you want them to feel, what you want them to do, and then ultimately, are you building permission? So would it be okay if I let you know when it sells and what it makes? Or am I getting into a point where I'm going to do an appointment? Any chance I could come and see your place? Yeah. And so getting the strategy right. In all of your experience and seeing people that are really effective on the phones, Are they super clear on the purpose of the call? Do they have a really clear call strategy? And do they stay doing the same type of call for like 45 minutes so they perfect it and they get really good at it? Or do they shift gears and try to do lots of different calls inside of that 45-minute window?
The guys I've seen do really well are, they're so unassuming. Like they don't sound or look like a real estate agent. The cliche, I don't know if I should say it, but they're very personable. They're very almost boring, but very. They have their way of.
We like to call it highly structured.
Yeah, very structured, and that's. I think that is basically when you nail sales, when you can do that boring task again and again and again and again and again, and you perfect it. It's those the guys who are unassuming and they kill it, absolutely kill it, because they understand what they need to do. Because it doesn't need to be complicated. It's very simple. You just have to stay on top of it. But most salespeople don't like doing that because it's boring.
But age-old stories, I was thinking about this, is that like, you can call it boring or you can get good. And I love this, that like there's a story of the 3 bricklayers, right? And they walk up to one bricklayer and they go, "What do you do?" And he goes, "Oh, I lay bricks." Go up to the next bricklayer, "What do you do?" "Build walls." Walk up to the next bricklayer, "What do you do?" He goes, "Man, I build cathedrals." And like same job. But the way you think about the job massively changes. And so like I'm like, hey, you're in the position of influence here. You get this right, it's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $100,000 on some of these properties. And what you're actually doing here is you're showing nastiness, tenacity, desire, to want to grow a great business and to build a great relationship.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be in a position that you're like, you don't have to be in the position like where you're ultimately doing cold all the time, but if you are going to be super targeted, like hot spotting around a particular listing, a type of sale, a type of property, a waterfront, a penthouse, an apartment in that building, then you've got to be really good at being able to go and get that data and go and do something with it. This is important because what you're actually really saying is like, Josh, when we're looking at a workflow, when does it happen and how does it happen? What's the sort of data tell you on the back end of iD4me about how often someone uses a platform, about how many searches someone on average does? Like, because to me, like a call placed really well once a month that lands an incredible listing opportunity is 100% worth it. Finding the unfindable. Getting in contact with them, creating something that no one else could go to create.
Yeah.
And there are other people that literally, I'm assuming that every day they're going to be doing a search because they're actively thinking that the trigger point is there's a new listing.
Yeah.
Let's ring everyone else in Lawson Street. There's a new listing. Let's ring everyone in Red Street. Red Street's now sold. Let's ring all those people again that we rang the first time round.
Yeah, interesting question. No, we've actually just done some work on this, and just to see what's the ROI on guys using the system. A couple of things there. One is we've realized that about 15% of listings in Australia can be traced back to iD4me. So you've got the details from iD4me to list a house. 15%. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I would be too. 1 in every 6. It's amazing. Yeah.
And then we started to look at behaviors, patterns on people who use the system well and get a lot of listings. And we see the average user in that bracket logs in minimum for 4.5 times a week. And
that counts for half day Fridays, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a different way to articulate the data. Anyway.
Yes.
And we see that they're in the platform at least 3 times a day.
Yeah, sure. So
a lot of them log in very early in the morning.
Yeah, sure.
And they do their searches. Their searches start with addresses mostly, and then it goes into the name searches. So there's a pattern here of how they're doing the address searches first, and to get the owner information, and then they switch to now. Here's a list of names where I want to find the information on these people. We're doing a lot more work behind this to fill in some of the blanks, but it is very interesting how similar the patterns are for the guys who are doing very well in terms of listing houses.
Yeah, and I never understood this about like why I got shut down so much in the early stages of my career. And I went to a health retreat and I was talking to the lady who was running it, and I'm like, oh, but I get really sad because everyone says no to me. And she's like, oh, okay. She's like, do you know why that is? I'm like, why is that? She goes, you're just not that good at your job. And I was like, oh my God, like far out. But you know what she did teach me, which was amazing, is she said, hey, I'll tell you how to change it. I said, yeah, what's that? She says, be relevant. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, we got to be relevant. And I was like, oh. And she said, but how often do I ring him? And she said, well, if you're relevant, you'll know.
Yeah.
Because the relevancy will drive the frequency of the communication.
Yeah.
And then she said, if you want to own a market, be consistent. And I remember walking away from that conversation, and it's never left me. Because like what we're doing in the way that we use iD4me and how we train it with our agents and the conversations that we have in our prospecting schools and inside of businesses is we say, hey, what could be more relevant than ringing them about a listing that's just happened in their area, right? And then ringing them again when there's a sale.
Yeah.
Because you know what? If yours is like, this one's coming on, it's now sold, it made X, what does it mean yours is worth? Yep. That would help you from an equity point of view. That would help you to understand whether or not you should sell yours. Because asset values are changing and interest rates have changed and the world's changed and COVID happened and all of those other things are going on. And then we've got, density changes with what the government's doing and wanting to build more houses in every state and territory across Australia. Hey, you got a great story to tell. So let the relevancy drive the frequency of the communication and then be consistent. And when you're saying about, hey, I'm boring, like imagine that you're in a position, you look at the best people in the world. How do you feel if your surgeon's bored about doing knee surgery and he's doing your knee surgery today? Like you want that knee surgeon to be phenomenal around what it is that they do. So what you've got to do is learn the power of influence, get the scripting right, get the dialogue right, and then ask the questions so you can be highly influential when you got to make the calls.
Yeah.
And if you do that, that's a huge difference, right?
Yeah. And I think from a customer standpoint, they're looking in an agent, an advisor.
Yes.
They're looking for someone they can trust. I mean, I went through experience recently buying a house, and I work at iD4me. I know hundreds of agents, but I don't know much about buying and selling houses myself.
Yes.
And it was a very interesting experience where I had to Google stuff or call people who know real estate.
Yes.
To get guidance because I got nothing.
Yes. And that's that whole conversation. You look like you know what you're doing. And then you realize straight away, Josh, I actually need help. I haven't done that before. I haven't had to buy and then sell. And geez, that was stressful. And, all of those other things that go on. So this is a really great conversation. We now know that we live in a world where data is equal, but relationships are not. You've got a chance now to get access to the data, so there are no more excuses.
Yep.
And then take that data and go and do something with it. And if you want to build a relationship, be relevant, be frequent, and then be consistent in your actions. Use the trigger points, what's been listed, what's been sold, to guide you. Search specifically for types of properties that you know that buyers want to buy. Be clear about trying to prospect the type of things that are hot in your market right now.
Yep.
So if you know that 2-bedroom units or 3-bedroom houses are the sorts of things that buyers want, then prospect around that. And now you've got a profiling tool and a search tool that delivers you contacts that you can ring.
Yep.
And you know what? There's an old school saying, like literally, you don't get if you don't ask. And so all you got to do is you got to ask the question, and then you're going to get a ton of opportunity. If someone wanted to get in contact and they wanted to use iD4me, what's the easiest way for them to subscribe to the platform and to get in contact with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is just to go on iD4me.me and get a demo or sign up. We don't do locking contracts. You can just sign up, trial it, and get a training session where we offer one-on-one training sessions to anyone who joins the platform. We insist on it and learn how to use data and grow your book.
Awesome to spend some time with you guys today. Thanks so much for coming to all of our prospecting schools. It's going to be amazing to see you again at Blueprint this year.
Absolutely.
And guys, let's get you into the platform and be able to find anyone that you need to find and have some great conversations.
Thanks, Josh.